Hi everybody, Radical Gardener. Okay, well we've got light on this one. Am I checking in all right? I guess. Anyway, I've been out in a windstorm, man. It was really windy about an hour ago. I mean, crazy windy. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. Just a minute. Thought I was organized here. Just give me a minute. You can look at I got stuff all in my hair from the wind. Anyway, so I just thought it was time to check in. I've been wanting to do it every day, but as you know, moving back to Michigan, my whole focus has been to get work and get myself situated so that I can, do my thing. And so 7 music stores hired me, music academies, which is great. So I'm going to be working for 2 of them, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I mean, there's actually I could call 40 more, and I'm not exaggerating. I probably called 30, something like that. There's a lot of work here. There's another reason why I wanted to come back is that there's so much work, right? So Mondays and Tuesdays, for those of you who live in Michigan, this will mean something, but I'll be in Canton. And on Wednesdays in Rochester Hills, on Thursday and Friday in Brighton, and on Saturday in Novi. So kind of around the city. So that's good. And I still haven't called to do voiceover training, which I can work like, adult programs and, junior colleges and things like that. So that's my next thing that I'll take on. But so it's great. I'm settled. I was going to take you for a tour of the house, but I don't know. I guess it's clean. But I'll show you the living room. You'll recognize the furniture. You've traveled with me through several houses. So this is basically, that's the front window. Where are we? Yeah. And then you just see, you know how I decorate and all my things. It's a little kitchen in there. It's a little house, which of course I love little houses. And then this is my side street here. And I have a bird feeder right outside the window, and it's like kitty television for the kitty cats. So yeah, that's my living room. I'm getting ready to hang up this stained glass piece, which I carry from place to place. But believe me, every time I move, I pare down even more. I'm going to take on the garden. I'll take on the garden probably next year. What all got in my hair, man? Okay. I probably should do this before I start the video. Anyway, it's really coming together. I'm settling down. It's good. It's just good. All right. So I'm still reading this book. I think I mentioned it before. But this book is so powerful. It was written in the 1920s. And really, the whole thing is about how everything on the planet is sound. And that it has really come from, let me see if I can, this might be better. Here's it go. And how it has really come from, the source, which is God, the breath of God. So he's a Sufi, so he has a certain way of really describing it, and it's so beautiful. So I've been marking different passages as I've been reading this with my friends, Catherine and my colleague, Dr. Snell. Where do I want to read? There's so much here. I have been marking it. Let me go to where I have it marked. There's just so much here. And they're just passages. So listen to how beautiful he describes it. What's really potent about this book is it almost forces you or opens you up to really truly understanding what we're saying when we say everything is sound. Like we say it and it's kind of this off the cuff thing, but how impactful it is when we actually view everything as sound, every rock, every stone, every animal, everything. And I think I've mentioned this before, Pythagoras, who was a sound healer, said that stones are just frozen notes. I love that. So here's something here. Man very rarely thinks about what depends upon this rhythm. The whole life depends upon it. The breath that one breathes is certainly a secret in itself. It is not only a secret, but the expression of all mystery, something upon which the psychology of life depends. The science of medicine has for thousands of years, to some extent, depended upon finding out the complaints of the body by its rhythm and by the breath. Ancient medicine knew that health depends upon vibrations. And now, again, a time is coming when in the Western world, physicians are striving to find out the law of vibrations upon which man's health depends. But man, absorbed in the material life, goes so far and no further. The mystery of vibrations does not concern the material plane only. It goes still further. So it's infinite, right? Let's see what else we have here. Here's another one. It is therefore that many confuse inspiration with spirit communication. Many inspirational people are glad to attribute inspiration to a spirit, knowing that it does not come from themselves. But it is not always spirit communication. And he means like religion and all that stuff. It is natural that inspiration should come from a being living just now on earth or from someone who has passed, yet the most profound inspiration comes always from the divine mind. And to God alone the credit is due. You just go to source. Man, throw all the books out. You just go to source. Do not bother with all the nonsense because it's all been messed with. You know, I always have to laugh when people keep going to the Bible and they go, well, you know, the Bible said, and I go, well, who wrote the Bible? I mean, you know, first of all, a lot of it didn't even get written till 300 years after the fact. Well, I can tell you, I'll describe something that maybe I saw yesterday, and it's going to be tainted because I'm not going to remember it exactly, and I'm going to put my own personal imprint upon what I thought I saw. So, you know, so they go, well, the Bible said, and I go, well, that's just no proof. If there's no proof, that is not proof, right? So you're using the Bible to defend the Bible. You know what I mean? You know? So it is natural that inspiration should come from a being living just now on earth or for someone who has passed, yet the most profound inspiration comes always from the divine mind. And to God alone the credit is due. Even if an inspiration comes through the mind of a person living on earth or through a soul who has passed on to the other side, it still has come from God. For all knowledge and wisdom belong to God. That's what I'm saying. Here's another paragraph. It is a fault on the part of mankind to attribute inspiration to some limited being who's nothing but a shadow covering God. When a person believes that an old Egyptian comes from the other side to inspire him, or that an American Indian comes to lead him on his way, he builds a wall between himself and God. Instead of receiving directly from the source that is perfect and all-sufficient, he is picturing his limited idea, making it a screen between himself and God. Oh gosh, that is just so true, right? So I that's why I don't do, and listen, to each his own. You know, do what you do. You know, usually when you say something in the Bible, people kind of lose it. But, you know, just do what you do if it works for you. For me, I go straight to source. God, that's it. I don't need a book. I don't need a church. I don't need someone to tell me how to do it. I just go straight to God. And actually, this whole move that I've made all the things that are going on for me right now, this was so, this is how I do it. I say, God, this is what I need, and this is what I want. Right now, this is what I need, and this is what I want. I will work my butt off to make this happen. But I know you're going to have my back, and you're the one that's going to bring the magic, and it will just come into fruition. I'm not going to go into this matrix world that's all made up and, the land where, division lives, because religion does nothing but divide people, does not bring them together. It's because the Catholics think that they know more than the Jews think that they know more than the Muslims think they know more than the Baptists, and the Baptists think they know more than the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's all separation. And all we have to do to fix that is go straight to God. Just get rid of the rest of it. Just go straight to God. What's wrong with that? Why aren't you doing it? Why not go straight to God? Go to source, right? So I was just in a meditation. It was a group of people, and she starts talking about, bringing in the angels and everything. And I just ignore that. I just, I do my source thing. I go straight to God. And so afterwards, I said to her, I said, I just go right to source. I don't see the point of all this other stuff, all this really interference. I don't see the point. That's me. Question. Would you explain further what role the brain plays in thinking? Answer. The brain may be likened to a photographic plate. The thought falls upon the brain just as a reflection falls upon the photographic plate, both one's own thought and the thought of another. Then there is another process, and that is that the thought is developed like the photographic plate. What is it developed with? Is there some solution in which the photographic plate is to be put? Yes, and that is the intelligence. Through one's own intelligence is developed and made clearer. And what is the brain connected to? Where's the brain source come from? Okay, read a little bit more of this. The form of a thought is also its effect. Its effect upon the form and expression of a person. For a thought has a particular language that manifests as a kind of letter if one could read it. So if you could read your thoughts. This language can be read in the face and form of a person. Everyone reads this to a certain extent, but it is difficult to define the letters, the alphabet of this language. There is one mystery that opens a door into the thought language, and that is the vibrations, the frequencies. What direction the vibrations take. A thought works upon and around a person's form and becomes manifest to the eyes upon his visible being. There's a certain law that governs its work, and that law is the law of direction. God. Whether the forces are going to the right or to the left, upward or downward, it is this direction of the vibrations of thought that produces a picture so that a seer can see this picture as clearly as a letter. No doubt for a seer, he's talking a lot about the Sufis here, it is not necessary to read the thought from the visible form of a person because he cannot be a seer if he is not open to reflection. Every thought is reflected in him, which makes things even clearer. Besides that, he need not see the picture of the thought on its visible form in order to know it. The atmosphere tells him. The thought itself calls out, I am this thought. Whatever it may be, for thought has a language, a voice, thought has breath and has life. What is imagination? Imagination is uncontrolled thought. So it's when you let go. So I've become so keenly aware of sound and how I'm feeling it and how impactful it is. And remember, I was a musician for 40 years, so I mean music, and I work in therapeutic sound now, and I teach voice, so sound is everything to me. But now when I go into a room and I sit down, or if I'm in a restaurant, I start listening. And it's really interesting because I listen for the sound, and then I take it in and how it feels. So there's this really wonderful restaurant in, where is that? Is it Bloomfield Hills? I think it's Southfield, Michigan. So not too far from me, and God, I can't remember the name of it. I just go there. Anyways, it just has wonderful food, always wonderful food, highly creative food. It's a neighborhood bistro, and the service is impeccable, and the wait staff never leaves because obviously they're treated well. It's just a good vibe in there. So I sat in there and I just listened, and you could hear the joy in there, the way that people were talking, how they were engaged with each other, the way that the staff was talking, how they were in service to the people that they were waiting on. It was all this beautiful cacophony of sound. It was incredible. And it's always been there, but I decided to listen and pay attention. Is very powerful. Or I'll hear someone, like I heard this father yelling at his son, and maybe it was warranted, but I just, like, the sound hit me. I went, oh God, that sounds so raw, that sounds so harsh. Now, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have yelled at his son or what, but it was so harsh because I was really plugging into the frequency. I really don't know what he said to his son. It was just the energy of what he was saying, right? And I thought, wow, when we yell at somebody, it's big, and maybe we've grown used to it, or, we've got these thick skins now, but it still is what it is. And it is disruptive. Right? So, this book has really helped me to break it down, to really pay attention and be responsible for myself and how I speak to others, and how I speak to others and how I communicate, how I treat others. After I went through everything I went through in the last few years, but especially in the last few months, and I might have talked about this, that the only thing I could come up with that would make me feel better was to be kind. And I've just carried that through every day now. I mean, I don't care who's behind the register, if somebody's, pumping gas next to me, if I hold doors for people. I ask them if they need any help. I want to. It feels natural. I've been doing so much now. It's just how I operate. That's how I operate throughout the day. I'm hyper aware of what's around me. Does somebody need help? Can that woman get her groceries in the car? And I'm pretty beat up after this move. Believe me, I'm not, Johnny on the spot when it comes to, like, being physically strong. I'm working on that right now. But, it's like, least I can help. Or, even if it's refused, I've offered the help. I feel good. They feel good. It's a win-win, right? So sound is that. Kindness is sound. Our actions are sound. They're frequencies. Whoop. There's an awful sound right there, isn't it? I hear that all the time. A lot of people dropping dead. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that with you. What's on the horizon for me? Well, I want to make videos every day. Hopefully now that things have calmed down a bit, I can. I'm not going to mess with the garden or any of the yard stuff until the spring. It's already August. I think winter's going to come on really strong. honestly, I just don't have the energy right now. I'm going to get a couple of raised beds. I'll have everything in place for the spring. And then that's when I'm going to do it. I'm going to do more of a wildlife garden. I'll grow vegetables in 2 raised beds like I had at my place in Florida. You know, the, what do you call it? You know, when I did my tropical garden, I had those 6 raised beds. I can't believe I left those there. I mean, you know what? I had to. There was only so much I could bring. I mean, everything that came here had to be in a truck. I left 40 plants in really big pots and beautiful pots. I mean, I had to leave them in Florida. Eva's got them. I mean, there couldn't be a better person that has those plants. She was so good to me and really helped me out when I was, you know, leaving. So, you know, she was so excited to get them. So that's fine. But, you know, every time I moved, I've lightened the load. And I wasn't willing to get rid of my stuff. Again, I brought what I absolutely loved, almost what I absolutely loved. There were things I just couldn't get into the truck. You know, I've got my totem pole, and, you know, I've got my stained glass window, and I've got my, you know, my chest from India, and I've got my desk from China. And, you know, so I've got the things that I think are pretty special. And, you know, I brought my prep food. I even thinned that down a bit. About my prep food, and, you know, I've got some garden tools, and so, you know, I just had to keep it light, just the way it is. So, all right, everybody, I will try and stay in touch. Tomorrow I'm going to go to Tractor Supply and get some mulch, just so the garden, it, you know, it looks nice and neat around the house. And then Sunday, I'm going to Harson's Island. I think I'd like to do a video there, so I'll bring my stuff with me and do a video there. And then we'll see when I begin teaching. So that's going to be, I'm going to be a working stiff again. Okay, working on sound, did a new one. We call it the Sound of Color. It is amazing. So we're going to get that loaded up on CD Baby and all of that stuff. So we'll be working on that in the beginning of September, doing an interview with the 2 women in England that have a podcast, and that they do, and really their stuff's about frequency and frequency based. So Dr. Barrett, Dr. Snell and I will be doing that. I'll give you a heads up about that. So things are moving along, right? Okay. Anyway, nice to check in. Radical Gardener, from my garden to yours. May your garden always grow. And you know, I'm sending you a ton of love. Okay, goodbye.